Thank you so much for joining us today. We are delighted to welcome Devendra Khandegar, founder and CEO of Kredily. They've previously led investments at Tracxn Labs and earlier at Gujurat Venture Finance Limited, focused on HRTech, SaaS, and Fintech. He has worked extensively in the HRTech and SaaS space over his career. Kredily was born from his interactions with numerous SMEs and startups across India and their plethora of HR and workplace collaboration issues. Dave realized that despite the available options, companies were losing time and resources over repetitive HR tasks. The available options were either too expensive or they required extensive installation and configuration or had a steep learning curve. Over time, Dave has refined the idea to build an embedded fintech marketplace of Kredily, thereby providing financial access to SME employees, a previously untapped and underserved audience. Dave is an alumnus of IIT-Kanpur and IIM-Lucknow. We are also joined today by Executive Director of Fosun RZ Capital, Krishna Vinjamuri, and my name is Anushka Prasad. I'm a Wharton MBA candidate and a summer associate with Fosun. Thanks so much for joining us, Dave. Just to get started, for our audience that may not know you as well, can you describe Kredily?
Thank you so much, Anushka, for having me here. So Kredily is India's first digital workplace platform. Essentially, we started Kredily way back in 2017 as a HR and payroll software solution. But over a period of time, we have grown on to become a kind of complete digital workplace platform, offering video conferencing, chat and collaboration tools, salary payment gateway, as well as the HR and payroll tool like attendance management, leave management, document management, payroll management, payroll processing, as well as salary payout. So this essentially is other product suite we offer to the SMEs. On the employee side, we also offer employees a financial marketplace where employees can access a very high quality curated financial products like salary advance, loans, credit card, insurance, and that can be available with just a click of the button. So today we have close to about 3,500 companies, SMEs using our platform, and together they have about like 1,500 employees using our platform, but 1.5 lakh employees using our platform.
So Dave, what made you take the leap and found Kredily? So what is the founding story?
Sure. So when I was on the other side of the table, I was talking to a lot of founders of these startups. I mean, the startups and also some of the SMEs in my previous days in the banking as well. So what I essentially saw, lot of these founders and entrepreneurs, they were like wasting a lot of time for their HR and payroll tasks towards the end of the month, which essentially becomes very critical for getting the numbers right, the sales right. But they were wasting a lot of time for payroll processing, and the process is like this. First, you have to get the attendance data from all the employees. If the employees have not come on certain days, then you have to reconcile whether they have applied for a leave or not. And then they would have applied for the leave, and then eventually the manager also have to approve it. If the manager is not approving, then essentially there is no record for the leave. And then all this data, once they reconcile from these two sources, it has to come back to the payroll system. So that's how the process is. So like in all the processes, like the management is essentially like following you with everybody, like in all the team mates as well as the employees, that you please regularize your attendance or regularize your leave. And then like to its accountant that you have to make the payroll processing on time, so that like my employees don't like get the salaries on a delayed basis, because delaying a salary is like very it's a no for SMEs as well as for startups, because people really think like your foundation is very shaky. So it's a very kind of sensitive topic, like in the SMEs and the startups, like to pay salary on time. This was not so essentially they were wasting a lot of time for processes. So I thought like there must be like some softwares who kind of like would solve this problem, because obviously if there's a problem there must be some technological solutions to that. But to my surprise, actually all the solutions which were there in SME market were like not designed to this kind of this kind of target audience. They were very like very ERP based, where let's say primarily like you have some problem, let's say payroll processing, so we will do complete payroll processing ourselves, and we'll charge you certain like let's say 50 rupees per employee per month and all. So that is what we will do, and at the same time they were not DIY. So eventually it was wasting a lot of time for the companies to like implement these softwares in the organizations. So it kind of like, first is the product was not easy enough to implement, and second it was like expensive for SMEs to afford. So they were delaying this process of adopting technology. And then the third learning was came in actually when I saw kind of the number of products exist in the market. I was quite shocked actually. Total out of 60 million SMEs in India and out of like about 140 to 150 million salaried employees, less than 10% of this SMEs and employees were using any kind of HR software. So 90% of this market was kind of completely vacant. Nobody was there. So that was a kind of eureka moment for me. They know that there's a kind of big opportunity out there, and we can create a platform which is very simple and easy to use and offer it for free of cost, such that the SMEs don't feel any kind of friction to adopt. So that was actually essentially the journey of Kredily. So we launched Kredily, and in a very quick time, actually, we found a lot of companies kind of signing up on the platform. So in the first month of launching, we got 1,000 companies signed up, and we were like quite shocked. Oh my God, it's not like employees; it's 1,000 SMEs signed up. So without any kind of significant marketing. So we were like that. We found this is we found a good product market fit, and then that's where we scaled up Kredily. Yeah.
Yeah, you were solving a real pain point. Krishna, what attracted you to this market?
Yeah, so I think we strongly believe that the SME market time has come. If you look at how the internet adoption has happened, the enterprises picked up the tech adoption in the first wave. Then consumers picked it up over from 2007-8 till 2016. Slowly, the first SECA and richer people have actually adopted because the smartphones were also pricey. And with the launch of Jio, the cost of data has come down significantly, and also the smartphone pricing has also come down. And initial set of SMEs, the tech adoption has primarily been in a must-have kind of a thing, which is essentially they have to file their taxes. So accounts platforms like Tally were the first to be adopted by the SMEs. Then the second one that they started adopting was which will generate them additional revenue, be it like the Just Dials of the world or Flipkarts of the world, where they can actually sell more and generate more revenue. And we believe that after the Jio has come and the smartphones pricing has come down, then we believe that the real large wave for the SMEs will start now because all those barriers that have been there have gone. And now more positive things have also come in place. For example, with the GST implementation, these SMEs now have to be a little bit more tech savvy because they have to keep updating for compliance purposes online as well. So we believe that the tech adoption in the SMEs will go up. Then we saw what would be some of the pain points for these SMEs, and there have been a lot of quite a few companies that got funded and that targeting different pain points of the SMEs and targeting them in different manner over the last 2 years. One of the key pain points as well as a compliance issue lies in ensuring that the payroll is processed on time, ensuring that the provident fund and all the payments that have to be made, EPF payments, etc., have to be done, which is a pain point for SMEs, especially for the smaller ones who cannot have dedicated staff to actually do this kind of tasks, right? And the second thing is also that the workplace collaboration, which we are so very much used at the enterprise level, those tools are also have been missing for the SMEs, which is also another white space we actually saw. And Kredily was actually addressing some of these pain points. So that's what attracted us to this particular market.
You gave some initial, when you were telling me before, you gave some initial market size, but how big is this market really? In terms of how addressable is it? How big is it?
Sure. So essentially, here if you see like the kind of tech adoption which is happening in the SMEs. So if we have like total about 60 million SMEs, and if you add also the freelancers and the like kind of small 1 or 2 employees kind of companies, total about 75 million odd SMEs in India exist, as per the recent report by Zenov Consulting. I think that's a kind of one comprehensive report which was there recently. And out of this, like what they kind of bifurcated very like nicely is like different segments exist. Like L1 is a companies who would be just like kind of digitally adopted, like probably using its smart geophone and and using WhatsApp kind of as a communication kind of like to getting some of the work done. And then obviously there is a kind of different level of adoption. So that L4 level is the kind of the kind of adoption comes where the kind of level comes where the SMEs want to have some kind of productivity tools. for managing their, the workplace, like ERP, payroll software, accounting software, and so on and so forth. So this segment actually, as per the definition, is about 10 to 15% of this kind of overall market. So roughly is about like 10 million is what we would say is the kind of addressable base for us. And all these SMEs are just 10 plus employees kind of company. So that like it's a kind of sizable employees also come along with the SMEs. Yeah,
absolutely. So the number of people who actually work among these SMEs also is another target audience for us, and that will be upwards of 150 million people working at these small and medium enterprises, 150 million plus. So yeah, I believe it's a very large market.
This is for the financial products, etc., that you're offering SME employees.
For the SME employees, yeah. So the purpose of the platform, the purpose of Kredily is to be a platform not just for the SMEs but also for their employees as well. So that's what makes it a lot more interesting.
Yeah, that's super interesting. How would you compare the HR SaaS market in India to the US or China, if at all, if you would even make that comparison?
Sure, of course, we should definitely do the comparison with one of the largest SaaS market in the world. So that's why also kind of, it can be very kind of contrasting example as well, I would say. So whereas obviously the SaaS market globally, US is the biggest market, India is one of the smallest market despite being a large geography and large customer base. And also in terms of the digital adoption, the companies are very savvy to use the software on their own. It's more of a DIY market there versus the companies especially in Indian companies, they were still kind of used to using the software where somebody will come and install the software on the premises.
Do it for
me. Do it for me. So that is a kind of two contrasting objectives are there actually in this. So here you can make money for a subscription on a subscription basis in the US market where that's the primary revenue source. But in India, you have to have some kind of different business model because on that subscription, you cannot really make good money. So you should have a really strong model which can very much fit into this kind of platform where you can offer a SaaS as a free or freemium and then eventually monetize to some other services on top of that. So these are kind of two contrasting examples there with the US and the Indian market.
Yeah, we have seen. We have seen this in other market as well. So we have a pretty large portfolio in China as well, and one of our company, DayHR, is also in this particular space. So they have grown pretty big, but the key thing is also that China as a market is a little bit ahead of India in that the SMEs also got a chance, not just from a tech perspective but also overall market perspective. The SMEs also got a chance to slowly become larger and larger and larger. So the tech adoption there has also picked up because if in India it is 10 plus employees, they would have become already 50 plus employees there in China over the last 7 to 8 years, right? Which means that they would need a much stronger tech support there. So in India, as our GDP grows, I think our SMEs also will become larger and larger. So they would need for their own internal productivity reasons or also compliance reasons, they would also need some kind of a software to help them deal with these tasks.
Yeah, that's interesting because I guess in India we're waiting to see how labor regulation impacts firm size over the next 10 years. Yeah, that's absolutely an exciting opportunity.
So, if some of the reforms come, then I think the SMEs will also start scaling up in India as well. And then they would also be in the front line to just start adopting technology to increase productivity, internal communication between employees, and so on and so forth.
So Dave, how do you see customer adoption happening? What do you consider the core features of your solution that your customer will adopt first?
For directly from SME's point of view, the compliance part, I would say, is more of a stick that they have to do it right. So the payroll part actually kind of comes from that kind of drive that they have to adopt. So payroll becomes kind of another primary module for us in terms of the SMEs adoption. And the second stick which has come unfortunately on the SMEs, but fortunately for India, the digital adoption is happening much faster now because the companies which were still hesitant, that that whether we need to have a digital solution or not. Now it is a necessity. It's not an option anymore. It's a necessity. So the digital workplace solution, like, with what we have, chat and collaboration tool, and then your video conferencing, and then also our good old attendance applications, which was being used. So some were still relying on kind of biometric devices, and then they used to fetch the data to our applications to do the syncing. But now they're using the application directly for recording the attendance on Kredily platform. So they're doing away with all this kind of biometric devices altogether. So essentially these are the three platforms where the adoption has picked up for us.
And how did Corona, how are we, how is this helping the SMEs in the times of Corona right now?
So for, especially for attendance and work from home kind of solutions, so let's say even a Kredily or platform, for ourselves, we also consider ourselves as SME as well, because we almost 30 employees company. So we are essentially a core SME, a digital SME. So every day we have to do a sync up meeting, right? So with a video conferencing tool or with a chat and collaboration tool, we just click and everybody joins this meeting. And we do a quick sync up call, what we need to do in a day, we do a daily scrums and all. And then eventually, in the evening, maybe EOD of different teams and all are done on the platform. So the same thing which we see across our different customer base as well, that so whichever the companies are using a platform, every day they log into the system in the morning and they do a quick meeting for all hands meeting within the organization or all teams meeting within the organization. And then eventually during the day, they keep on chatting with some of the different issues and all. And then in the evening, the peak traffic again comes when they want to do a sync up call or not. So this is kind of usage the pattern we have seen for chat and collaboration too. Yeah. And in terms of attendance, obviously every morning they come and signs up, and then the kind of entire calculation also happens, because somebody is going out for some time, so they can say they clock out from the system that they are not available online anymore, and then they can take a break, and then eventually they can resume the work, and then eventually in the evening they can clock out. So Kredily automates this time, what is the kind of duration they have worked for. So it becomes very handy for SMEs, the companies, to track them, how many hours the employees have worked for.
Yeah.
What is you just talked about some of the products that are used very frequently, but what is the most key product or daily use case that you're finding?
So daily use case, I would say first is attendance. Everybody who is using Kredily have to use attendance anyway. So the attendance is a daily use case feature, and the reach is what is kind of has become daily use case of late, because the companies, this has become a default communication platform for organizations. So instead of they're doing away with the email communication, WhatsApp communication, because at one end your email communication is obviously asynchronous, so it wastes a lot of time. And whereas your WhatsApp communication, it's too synchronous that even your friends will disturb you in your office hours. That you get a lot of things from them, right? So this is the kind of dedicated workplace platform where you don't get any disturbance and you do dedicated work on your office work. So the reach has become that kind of platform for the organizations. Yeah.
This is slightly off topic, but how does your product, your video conferencing product, compare to Zoom or other products in the market right now?
So Zoom is definitely a great product. Obviously, there's a great adoption, and of course, this has given us also impetus that that people are they see Zoom really solves the problem. But now Kredily kind of goes one step ahead of Zoom, because Zoom is a standalone application, right? It's only for video conferencing. Whereas Kredily is a complete digital workplace. It has a great video conferencing tool, just like the same quality. People really swear by our quality. That really absolutely amazing quality for the video conferencing. But at the same time, people can also do the chat and communication right within the platform. So they don't have to switch between the Slack kind of communication and the Zoom or email separately. Here, Kredily, all the customers do everything together. So that's why the customers really love to use Kredily video conferencing instead of Zoom when they adopt the Kredily in the organization. And similarly for Slack as well, I would also talk about Slack as well, Slack or equivalent software. So that's also very independent software. Whereas Kredily, where they have to apply the attendance, they clock in every day. So they can do within the same platform. They can clock in and they can do video conferencing all in one platform. So essentially in India, nobody offers this kind of platform, all in one digital workplace within one platform. So we're kind of reimagining how the HRMS is done.
Yeah. Low tech adoption for SMEs has been a challenge historically. Why do you think now was the right time to enter this market? And how do you project tech adoption going forward?
So maybe if I can just take that. In fact, we discussed this a little bit before as well, in that it comes in waves, and SME is the latest wave. If you were to understand like how will the adoption actually happen? One is you need to have key enablers in place, right? Then you need to educate the market, right? And then you need to educate the market and offer them great product. And then you need to eliminate some of the friction points that will prevent the adoption from happening. So from the enablers being in place, like the low cost of data and low cost of smartphone was there. And then there's also a stick of compliance also being around from the government perspective, especially on the ETF payments and the payroll being processed on time and so on and so forth. Then if you were to look at like how do you actually educate the market, which has been very expensive in acquiring the SMEs, right? I think Kredily has solved that problem, because if you were to go to each SME through feet on street kind of a model, that is very expensive to acquire them, because the cost of each SME immediately, maybe over a period of time, they might be very valuable, but immediately you will not be able to get the value out of the SME, right? So you need to find an innovative model to actually acquire and educate these people. And also it should be almost like a self-serve kind of a model, right? Because you cannot go and do it for them simply because it will just cost too much. And the third one is how do you reduce the friction point, right? And this we have seen even for enterprise level products, like it's a kind of a freemium kind of a model where you just let them come in and use the product, and the base product will continue to be remaining free. But as they consume it more and more, they will see like how much more useful the product has been, and then they will start paying small amounts of money. In India, if you look at India is all about scale and at low cost, and Geo is a great example of that. The price of data on Geo are the lowest, but at the scale at which it operates and the utilization of the Geo network, but being at what it is, that's what actually makes it a lot more profitable and actually makes it a viable business solution. So that's where we need to address each of these areas, and that's how I think that's the way to actually ensure that SMEs actually adopt a solution, whichever area your value proposition might be.
Dave, do you want?
So essentially, I would address especially the last 2 points what Krishna mentioned. So the third point of Krishna mentioned is about the kind of company, how you can acquire the SMEs at scale. So basically there has to be some innovative way. So what we have found some innovative way is that so Kredily is a utility application and it's free. So essentially Kredily becomes a door opener to any B2B businesses. So now, for example, if you are an accounting software company, you don't have a payroll software, so you just bundle my software along with your software, and your value proposition becomes much stronger for your customer. So essentially, your sales guy is very happy because he has a better product, because which is the integrated product with his competitor, and so he's willing to sell. So we get his distribution network at scale for free of cost. So in this essentially the partnership, we don't pay any money to them, and they don't pay any money to us as well. That's fine. But we essentially get the scale, at free of cost. So with this actually we have found some partners. So we have some other large banks like ICICI Bank, IDFC Bank. These are our partners on the banking side. On accounting side, we have QuickBooks is the partner, and some other partners like on the other B2B side like ClearTex and so this is what we are working on recently. So we are following a partnership distribution strategy where you can acquire this customer at scale for free of cost. This third point, and the last point, obviously, the product has to become a DIY. So unless it is DIY, even if somebody who's going to help in the ICC sales guy is going to help their SME customers to onboard. But if they don't use it by themselves, they don't adopt it by themselves, we setting from probably Bangalore location or some other location, we won't be really able to help them. They will probably churn out very fast. So the product itself is helping these companies, they sign up on their own, they completely set it up there by themselves, and especially with this kind of ICICI Bank integration partnership which we have, they also make the salary payout by themselves without any kind of intervention from our side. So essentially, it's a kind of autopilot salary payment for them without we coming into picture at all. We are just a platform provider. So that's a kind of like, holy grail for us. Like, we become a invisible force behind them, use a platform, and let company use it by themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. One
How do
like
you-
for yeah.
Go ahead. Go
For
ahead,
companies
Krishna.
for companies to scale in the SME sector, one is like how do you acquire them, and maybe a low cost way and a scalable way of acquiring them has been one. But the second question has also been like how do you manage the churn, right? What will help the SMEs and their employees be on your platform? So how do you see that working out for you there?
So essentially, what we also do, like essentially, we have multiple suites, basically for especially for employees who are churning. So probably the companies can still churn out, but employees can still remain on Kredily platform. Because he has once downloaded Kredily application, so there is no need like he needs to uninstall the application, right? Just because he has kind of quick one connection, right? So we also offer some kind of host of financial products to them. So which are kind of very exclusive product, which are not being offered by any, which they cannot go and take it from the open market, because these are very exclusive product and very discounted product, which are not available outside. So this is kind of what we also bring is a kind of a platform play into this for employees as well. So employees essentially get financial product, a curated product, which is a kind of like tailor made for their needs. So essentially, the employees can continue to remain on Kredily platform while the SMEs can churn. So this is some way we are solving the churn problem for it. Yeah.
Got it. And how do you like again the holy grail like of any business is on the monetization aspect? And if you are offering the product as a basic product for free, how do you see the monetization happening for Kredily?
So essentially, we have done some pilots for monetization. So we did a small pilot for a very small segment for selling, like let's say for salary advance product and for insurance product, and we got a good like 7 to 10% adoption in a very small scale, but 7 to 10% adoption. So it's a very strong indicator that like about 7 to 10% of the employees are willing to use Kredily platform for purchasing financial products. Essentially, like if you in the open market, the adoption would be about 2 to 3% for this kind of product, but essentially we kind of doubled up this adoption. So the people trusted this product, and this was a very early stage where we just offered 1 or 2 products, and where once we like launch whole suite of our products, like 3-4 more products, we expect to have this adoption to about 20% also for this from these customers. So this is the kind of like the problem we have solved in terms of in the monetization for financial products. We also have kind of done early pilots for upgrading this free customers to our subscription plan. And so recently we have done it like in this 1 week itself. Like we just said, hey, we also have a kind of plan where you can like purchase for advanced features. So we just like quickly got about 50 customers who are willing to pay for the software. So that was a good testimony that like people really like trust our services and product, and they want to like they can also want to adopt a enhanced feature, as Krishna just mentioned briefly, like how the monetization works for a SaaS subscription. Yeah.
So
how do you measure engagement on your platform, whether it's employees or whether it's HR?
So typically like global metrics for engagement is typically the DAU by MAU kind of ratio, how deeply engaged the users are on the platform. So I can say this, like we as a SaaS product, our DAU by MAU is about 35%, which is like one of the highest in the industry.
Right.
For example, like Facebook has about 50%, and WhatsApp has about 70%. And like if you, as the literature says that like if you hit about 50%, you should really celebrate. So we are not yet there, but we are very close to that. So that engagement is pretty strong for us. At the same time, like the churn also, like if you can control the SME churn, which is a kind of given fact. So if we are like taking the measures, like while SMEs can still churn, because by virtue of it some SMEs will shut down, so they will churn, but their employees can continue to remain on the platform. So that way, like at least our customer base is not depleting. So these are the 2 metrics for which like we have kind of really found some good success.
I understand. And if you have to think of the scale of the platform, you spoke a little bit about your equation, how you are acquiring your SME customers and then onboarding their employees as well. Like at what scale are you operating right now?
Sure. So we have about close to about 4,000 odd SMEs using our platform, and together about 170,000 employees using this platform among these SMEs. Yeah. So by virtue of this, we already like almost like probably the fourth or fifth largest SME HRMS company in India already.
No, wow.
Early stage of our journey. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
What are you seeing as what are your plans for growth, in the next couple of years?
10x is what we're targeting in 2 years, because this is just we got started. Because SaaS companies, if you see like the initial growth, you spend a lot of time to kind of fine tune your product market fit, where like your SMEs should really hook down to your product, and like they should have a good engagement with the product, and the churn also should be able to control it. So once you do it, then there's absolutely there is like no limit for growth, because the market is so huge, and market is like this empty space, So that essentially gives us a kind of opportunity to scale up very, very rapidly. So we're expecting about 10x growth in the next 2 years.
And how will over a period of say 5 years or a slightly longer term, if you were to take for the platform, how will SMEs and the employees be? Where do you see Kredily's platform be, and how will SMEs and their employees be engaging with you on the platform?
So essentially, like, so we want to become the de facto platform for SMEs for solving any kind of utility problems. Like obviously, we have given some examples of HR, payroll management, compliances, work from home solution and all. So this is kind of like we want to become like the core of their kind of how they work. We want to be the core of it for the SME. For employees, of course, like this also transfers to employees as well, because employees also do the same thing in the organization. But beyond it, employees can also get like very superior and enhanced product, which they cannot get anywhere else. Like you just probably think about like let's say you want to let's say purchase let's say like some fancy car, and the car manufacturer wants to offer, let's say, a Diwali offer to some salaried employees who are fitting that particular criteria. Let's say somebody is earning 10 lakh rupees salary and probably living in Bangalore in a particular locality. We have the employees database ready, right? and this guy, and we know whether this guy has the car or not. And what is the kind of like dispensable income they have. So this kind of products can be offered. I'm saying this is kind of like 5 years down the line, but of course initially like we're focusing to become kind of like de facto financial fintech platform for them, that they can get salary advance from us, they can get credit card from us, they can make mutual fund investment from us, they can take insurance from us. So essentially covering the first primary part of like complete financial ecosystem is what we can offer to the employees. So this is the kind of value addition we can give to the employees to begin with. Yeah.
Who do you see as your main competitor?
It's a very like cliched answer, because when I tell to people that Excel is our competitor, but it essentially is actually Microsoft Excel, because our 90% of the customers who come on Kredily, they are using Excel sheets to manage the HR and payroll processes. So when they come on the platform, so this is the kind of, so we don't like try to break from some of our competitor who can come like because a cost of making the customer switch from one, let's say there obviously there are a lot of competitors in the market. Switching from one competitor to us, in that cost actually we can acquire 10 more new customers, because the market is so empty. Right?
So I think 93% of the market is open right now, and it's only been taken by about 7% of the market is what all the companies in this space put together are targeting right now. So what they is saying is that it's better to go after the 93% than go and try to take on this 7% from some of the other players. So
So just like to give a scale perspective, the largest player in this market has only about 10 lakh employees on the platform, just 1 million employees on the platform out of like 140 million employees. So essentially it's minuscule actually for a market leader to have that kind of scale. So that's why I think probably Excel is the right place.
How did FOSIN become a part of your journey, and how has that journey been so far, for both Krishna and Dev?
So maybe I can take the question first, and then Dev can also answer. We were looking, as I said, like we thought like SME is at the cusp of the technology adoption because of multiple enablers that have already fallen in space. And we thought like what could be the potential solution for SMEs. There are many gaps and many needs that they have. And one of the places that we thought was because of both the compliance reasons as well as because of the pain being felt was essentially around HR, multiple modules on the HR side, be it like payroll, attendance, leave, and so on, as well as improving the internal collaboration and communication among the employees so that the productivity can be at its top. So we have seen this play out in other countries as well and at scale. So we thought this could be something very interesting. And when we spoke with Dev 2 years back, he had, what was more interesting for us is he had this product-centric approach of actually growing instead of having a feet on street and sales-based approach, right? Even right now, Kredily doesn't have a single person on the street. All the employee base, everybody, including contractors or interns, everybody sits in a central office, right? So which actually helps it, this product centric approach and a do-it-yourself kind of an approach is much more scalable to target SMEs who might not be immediately valuable in the shorter term, right? So we thought that there's a great opportunity. In the 93%, as I said, 93% of the SMEs do not use any software, which makes it a large wide space. And we thought like we like the team, and that's how we engaged with Dev at the time.
From my perspective, so essentially, like, of course, the Fosun is a powerhouse in terms of like the insurance investments, in fintech investment, and the SaaS investment globally. So essentially, this is Kredily is a cusp of all these three things, right? So we are HR SaaS companies, and we also getting into insurance, we getting into fintech. So we thought like, as a one investor who's a global investor has kind of all the expertise together across geographies, it will really help us in a value addition, in like kind of refining obviously in the early stage in our ideas, and then eventually helping us scale up. So that's how we partnered with Fosun. And also like Fosun is not an investor who just invests in a one round investment. I mean, Fosun is an investor who keeps on backing the company across multiple rounds. So that's also kind of gave us a comfort in partnering with Fosun at a very early stage.
Yeah, it has been fantastic partnering with Dev. I think we invested about a little over a year or so back, year and a half back. So Dev, like maybe one last question from my side, like who is Dev outside of Kredily? Like, I think you have musical instruments maybe in that room or something like that. So you're an avid drummer, I would say.
I do have my drum and guitar lying next to me. so on the weekend I do play drums and guitar. So I mean, I've been playing since my college days. Beyond that, I also avid trekker. I trekked a lot of mountains in Himalayas and Sahyadris and Western Ghats. So I really love outdoor space. I mean, this is the time like I really would have been like in the mountains somewhere. But because of COVID, I could not go trek. There's a trek planned in this month itself, August month. But yeah, so probably some other day I would do. So yeah, drums, music, nature, wildlife are my interests. Yeah.
Very cool. Good that you have one hobby that you can do at home, playing drums. Anyway, very cool, very cool. Super.
Keeps you sane to have hobbies that you can do at home at this point. I had one last question actually, and this is more out of my own curiosity. But what makes your product so easy to DIY for an SME? What does that look like on the SME side?
Sure. So what we do actually, we have like learned over a period of time that how we can pre-configure this different rule set for different SMEs. For example, a company, if it's a manufacturing company, so like there is 9 to 5 shifts is there basically, right? Essentially, and then probably they will work for 6 days a week, and there is a certain way they will want to do payroll processing. So what we have done is like we have set this rules by default for them. Like there's a kind of essentially there are rules. You come on the platform, you see, attendance rules is set like this. 10 to 9 to 5 p.m. my shift, and this is a kind of break time and all. All they have to do is like click yes, that's it. So, they see, oh, this product knows about me, right? So that becomes like, helps them become a DIY. Instead of, okay, they're figuring out, okay, what is the start time of the shift I should write? What is the end time of the shift I should write, right? So this is the kind of thing we pre-configure for them. Similarly for the leave, right? And what kind of leaves you can take, how many leaves you can take, right? So we have kind of like, over a period of time, we also learned, and improved on the model that, a particular set of companies, need this kind of leave set and this kind of policy. So we have pre-configured those things. So all the companies need to do is like, just upload the employee, like just the name or name and the email ID or phone number. And that's they send the activation button. The employees actually signs up on the platform. And they can completely add all the information by themselves, the other remaining information, like the family information, the address and all. So, and the system keeps on asking, giving the prompt over a period of time. Not all the things information is asked on a one day, but over a period of time, you can complete your profile. So that your HR, from HR perspective, the database management can happen like, very efficiently without you wasting a lot of time. So this becomes kind of DIY from the employee perspective. And from the admin perspective to get the employee information. Then from onboarding point of view, once you pre-configure and assign these tools yourself, so within 5 minutes you can get started.
Oh, okay.
That's how fast it is.
Very cool.
That's great.
Yeah. So people really love our kind of DIY product, so we also have kind of just to give an update on this. So we also have support team which kind of helps them, sometimes get started. Especially we help the bigger companies. Probably just thinking, probably they might have a little bit of a complicated tool. They tell us tell us on the phone that, hey, we will do it ourselves. We know how the product functions. They're not picking up my call. And despite that, I see, they keep on completing all the process, like, adding the employees and doing it. They say, I feel very happy and satisfied. That, while the sales team is not happy, but at least I am happy that, my customers are kind of figuring out the product by themselves instead of me helping them out. So that is a great testimony on that.
Very cool.
Any last questions or thoughts you want to add, Krishna?
No, I think it has been a fantastic journey, and I think the product has been fantastic with many new features being rolled out both for SMEs as well as the employees, and look forward to the stellar growth that's going to come in the next 2 years.
Absolutely, Krishna. So we'll do together with you. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Dev. And for our audience, we plan to continue these conversations with Fosun portfolio companies. So if you enjoyed this, please stay tuned for more. Thank you.
Thank you.